Do you ever wonder if mushrooms go bad? After acquiring mushrooms, the next question is when will you consume them? And how long will they stay good? If you've ever acquired psychedelic mushrooms and saved them for a special occasion, only to have a disappointingly mild experience, you know that mushrooms can go bad. Mushrooms are organic matter, and like all organic matter, mushrooms decay. They simply lose their potency. And so the way they are prepared and stored makes a huge difference in how long your mushrooms will last. And so in this video, we'll go through the differences between fresh, dried, and edible mushrooms and give you some storage tips to make sure that your mushrooms last. Before we dive in, take a second to subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date on all the latest psychedelic education. As a general rule of thumb, you should store mushrooms in the fridge in a sealed container, no matter what form they are in. Mushrooms are sensitive to light, heat, and air, so be sure to keep them in a dark and cool environment wherever you're storing them. So the first type of mushroom are going to be fresh mushrooms. Fresh mushrooms only stay good for 1 to 2 days at room temperature and last about 5 to 7 days in the refrigerator. And for every hour that mushrooms are left out, about 8 hours are shaved off their overall shelf life. So get them in the fridge as soon as possible to reduce spoilage. Also, surface area and size are both factors in how we store mushrooms. Larger mushrooms will stay good longer, and whole mushrooms will last longer than sliced ones. Fresh mushrooms should not be sealed in plastic wrap or another airtight container, as mushrooms are 80 to 90% water. Air circulation keeps them from getting soggy and molding. Wrapping them in a paper towel to absorb moisture and storing them in a brown paper bag is best. Plastic traps the moisture and makes them mold faster. You can freeze mushrooms to make them last longer, but they do lose some potency. So the second way is drying mushrooms. One of the best ways to store mushrooms is by drying them out. And drying helps them to last longer without necessarily sacrificing their overall potency. Dried mushrooms will typically last anywhere from 8 to 12 months, but they are best used within 1 month. You can store dry mushrooms in a dark and dry environment in a sterilized and sealed glass jar. And you can also store dried mushrooms in the freezer to extend their shelf life by up to about 2 years. The best option for drying fresh mushrooms is a food dehydrator, but you can also use, an oven, or you can simply air dry them. For more detailed instructions on how to properly dry mushrooms, check out our blog post that we link to in the description below about how to store mushrooms. When you're ready to consume those dried mushrooms, you can make a tea or just simply eat them. They don't taste great, so you may want to mix them with chocolate or honey, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. The third way that you can keep mushrooms is by making them into mushroom capsules. And this is really good for microdosing in particular. So you can grind those dried mushrooms and you can store them in capsules. What this does is it mixes up the material from the caps and the stems and allows for more precise dosing, which is great for microdosing. So for more on how to prepare mushroom capsules, check out our video on how to prepare mushrooms for microdosing. You can store the capsules in a dark, dry, airtight container like a glass jar or a pill bottle, and remember that the lower the temperature they're stored at, the better. Mushroom capsules last for months in a closet, up to a year in the fridge, and even longer in the freezer. The fourth way that we can store mushrooms and make sure they stay well are with mushroom chocolates. Chocolates are a very popular way to consume edible mushrooms. And they're often convenient because they are pre-dosed and they cover up the taste. Like mushrooms, chocolate is an organic matter and it retains potency at about the same rate as dried mushrooms. So 8 to 12 months at room temperature if it's stored properly. They will last longer stored in the fridge and even longer in the freezer. The fifth and final way that we can store mushrooms are by utilizing mushroom honey. So honey is one of nature's best preservatives. It removes moisture, prevents mold and oxidation, and mushroom stored in honey is known as blue honey. It's made by mixing dried ground mushroom powder into honey, and it lasts about 2 years if kept cool. And if you want more info on how to make your own blue honey, just check out our blog posts that we link to in the description. So these are the 5 ways that we can store mushrooms. These are the 5 ways that we can make sure that they are utilized, how long you can expect them to last. We talked about fresh mushrooms, dried mushrooms, mushroom capsules, mushroom chocolates, and mushroom honey. And again, out of all of this, the most important part is to keep them in a cool, dark place and in a sealed container, as long as they are not fresh mushrooms. If you want to learn how to grow your own mushrooms, be sure to check out Third Wave's Mushroom Grow Kit. It comes with everything you need to grow your own mushrooms at home. Well, besides the spores, you have to get those separately, making it a quick and easy process for you to work with mushroom medicine. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. The psychedelic space is evolving every day, and we have a ton of amazing content that's coming out, and subscribing is the best way to keep up to date with all of that great content.